Hello, everybody. Greetings. Good afternoon. Peace and power and elevation be to all you beautiful folks out there. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. And today's topic, I'm revisiting the subject of anthropology. The reason why I am revisiting anthropology because it's the most unrepresented subject in the scientific field, meaning that many people do not know a lot about anthropology. And I give strong recommendation that people study it because it will make things a lot easier and it disambiguate all the confusion that people may have about genetics, about the human race, etc. So it would be best to study anthropology as a general studies all at once, because it deals with four components: biology, culture, archaeology, and linguistics. Biology, culture, archaeology, and linguistics. That's what anthropology covers, those fields. So I am going to be going over a subject, deal with a Haitian anthropologist. His name was Anténor Frimin. So Anténor Frimin was well respected, and not only in the Haitian community, but throughout the Black community. And he was also considered as one of the founders of Pan-Africanism. Okay? So yes, Pan-Africanism has its history foundation with those in the Caribbean. And then also W.E.B. Du Bois, later on, he was one of the first ones to organize the Pan-African Conference. Okay, so there was other people that played their parts in Pan-Africanism, but he happened to be considered as one of the first founders. Okay, one of the founders. Now, I'm going to go into the history and I'm going to go into his book. He wrote a book called The Equality of Human Races. He wrote that book called Equality of Human Races for a reason. All right. So that was his way to disambiguate, to do away with the narrative about Black people being inferior to whites. Because at that time, it was dealing with scientific racism. Now, he wrote this book in 1885 in French. So I have the English translation of it. Right? So he wrote this book because he have heard so much about scientific racism, and there were those in the scientific community, predominantly Europeans, that was arguing that European was a superior race of people and they were highly more intelligent than those who were African descendant and Blacks. So I'm going to go through all that, and then I have some articles that I want to share. Then I have another article called The Feminist War by Joshua Koff. So I want to share that as well because that seems to be very interesting. But make sure you guys like my channel, share my channel, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and all that great stuff. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the subject, shall we? So as you can see right here, and this is the source that I take people to, Anténor Frimin. Reason why I take people to Wikipedia, of course, a lot of people like using Wikipedia. So I'm going to take you guys there, and then we're going to go from there. Let's see what Wikipedia is talking about. So who was he? So it says that he was born Joseph Auguste Anténor Frimin, right? Better known as Anténor Frimin. He was born October the 18th of 1850, and he died on September the 19th of 1911. All right, that's a picture of him. A very fine, handsome young man right there. So he was a Haitian barrister and a philosopher, pioneer, anthropologist, journalist, and politician. Okay, so he was best known for the book on the equality of human races, which was published in 1885 as a rebuttal to French writer Count Arthur de Gobineau works, essay L'unité des races humaines, which translate into English the inequality of human races. So Gobineau book asserted the superiority of the Iranian race and the inferiority of Blacks and other people of color. So Frimin book argued the opposite, that all men are endowed with the same qualities and the same faults without distinction of color or anatomical form. The races are equal. He was marginalized at the time for his belief that all human races were equal. All human races were equal. Now, by him being a Pan-Africanist, he argued that we are all human at the end of the day. We all are human. So regarding what your race is, right? We're human because we come from a human family. And he made a decent argument. Now, at that time, it would have been considered pseudo what he was saying. But let's continue on. So, he was born as the third generation of the post-independent Haiti in a working class family. Frimin advanced quickly at his studies and started teaching when he was 17 years old. He studied accounting and law. He found early jobs Haitian Customs Office as a clerk for a private business. He quit his clerical position to teach Greek, Latin, and French. He was close to the Liberal Party and he started the newspaper Le Messager du Nord. The political turmoil surrounding the new government of General Solomon forced him into exile in Paris, where he served as a diplomat. During this time, he was admitted to the Société des Anthropologues de Paris, where he began writing The Equality of Human Races. So Frimin attended meetings at the Société as a regular member, but he was silenced by a racialist physical anthropology dominant at the time and due to racism. The transcripts of the Société's deliberations, including the memoirs, show that Frimin rose to speak only twice, and on both occasions he was silenced by racialist or racist comments. Now, he was being shut down. He was the only black man in that room. And when he stood up to speak regard to anthropology, he was told to be quiet. He was told to sit down, know your place. You are not allowed to speak. Sit down. So here's his work. So, of course, his major work again was The Equality of the Human Race, which was published in Paris in 1885. Its importance was unrecognized for several decades. The recovered text was translated by Haitian scholar Asselin Charles in 2000. It was published in English as The Equality of the Human Race 115 years after its original publication. Today, he is considered one of the most important contributors to anthropology. Right? So, Frimin pioneered the integration of race and physical anthropology and may be the first Black anthropologist. His work was recognized not only in Haiti, but also among African scholars as an early work of negritude. He influenced Jean Prince Mars, the founder of Haitian ethnology, and on American anthropology, Melville Herskovitz. Melville Herskovitz. So following the idea of Auguste Comte, Frimin was a stark positivist who believed that the empiricism used to study humanity was a counter to speculative philosophical theories about the inequalities of races. So Frimin sought to redefine the science of anthropology in his work. He critiqued certain conventionally held aspects of anthropology, such as chronometry and racialist interpretation of human physical data. He was the first to point out how racial typologies failed to account for the success of those of mixed race, as well as one of the first to state an accurate scientific basis for skin pigmentation. All right, so I kind of went over that. So let's skip down to the part where it says he's the founder of Pan-Africanism. All right, founder of Pan-Africanism. So Frimin is one of the three Caribbean men who launched the idea of Pan-Africanism at the end of the 19th century to combat colonialism in Africa. Now, before I continue, it's real funny that those who are Haitian are considered as Caribbean, but they're also considered as Latinos as well. Because Haiti is considered as a Latin country, but also as a Caribbean country. So it's like part Caribbean, part Latin. But many Haitians don't identify themselves as being Latino. They would rather identify themselves as Caribbean because they have that strong relationship being Caribbean than being Latino, which makes sense. And they're like, we speak Creole, we speak French, we do not speak Spanish. So a lot of times when we hear Latino, we think Spanish speaking people. So, but I just thought that it was interesting. I just wanted to share that, put that out there. All right. So again, say he was one of the three Caribbean men who launched the idea of Pan-Africanism at the end of the 19th century to combat colonialism in Africa. As a candidate in Haiti's 1902 presidential election, he declared that Haitian state should serve in the rehabilitation of Africa. Along with Trinidadian lawyer Henry Sylvester William and fellow Haitian Benito Sullivan, he was the organizer of the first Pan-African Conference, which took place in London in 1900. That conference launched the Pan-Africanism movement. W.E.B. Du Bois attended the conference and was put in charge of drafting the general report. After the conference, 5 Pan-African Congress were held in the 20th century, which eventually led to the creation of the African Union. So Frimin was invested in the three main elements of Pan-Africanist thought: the rejection of the postulate of race inequality, proof that Africans were capable of civilization, and examples of successful Africans producing knowledge in diverse fields. In looking to move away from the biological understanding of race, Frimin's scientific approach was informed by the idea of a Black Egypt as the source of Greek civilization. He was on to something, wasn't he? Let's continue. So Pan-Caribbeanism. Anténor Frimin devised between 1875 and 1898 as a Caribbean Confederation project which envisioned the unification of Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and Puerto Rico. Frimin was interested in creating political and social unity throughout the Caribbean. This can be seen through his relationship with Puerto Rican intellectual and physician Ramon Emetero Batanes. The pair first met in a meeting of the Society of Latin American Unity, an organization that served as a social and political network for exiles from Latin America. It is here where they discuss the ideals of political sovereignty through the region. Unlike other icons from the Cuban and Puerto Rican separatist movements, Batiste's celebration of the Haitian Revolution countered those who did not see Haiti as an ideal revolutionary model, thus excluding it in their own plans for a Hispanic Caribbean Federation. So as of right now, Haiti is dealing with a lot. So there's some form of militia going on over there where they're trying to control or occupy the Haitian people, right? And you know that Haiti been going back and forth with the Dominican Republic because of their differences, their issues. So the Dominicans don't really have a relationship with the Haitian folks. They don't really see them as a part of them, or they don't see themselves, most of them don't see themselves as being African. Now, there's those who do, but for the most part, they don't see themselves as being African. So they have that colonial mindset where they would rather identify with being Spanish. All right. And there was other things that was happening as well. There was like the war between them. So, yeah, so really Haiti is taking a lot of blows right now. It's really taking a lot of blows. And a lot of the organizations that supposedly help the Haitian community have really been taking advantage of them. And one of them were the Red Cross. The Red Cross was known for pretty much taking advantage of Haiti when they had the earthquake some years ago. And half that money was supposed to go to the country, but Red Cross was pocketing that money and left the people to suffer. So Haiti is really dealing with a lot right now. They really going through a lot. And so it's only fair to really bring out the history, because they have made a lot of contribution, especially here in this place we call North America. So especially in the Revolution War or whatnot, they have really made a lot of contribution. They have left their trademark, especially in the South, because of their contribution. So when you go to places like Louisiana and Florida and part of South Carolina, but particularly in Florida and Louisiana, it's a lot of Haitian influence taking place because they left their trademark there. And then also, not too long ago, the whole border issue where the border patrol people try to keep, or what was it, ICE, try to keep the Haitian immigrant from coming over here. Like they were literally chasing them around with the horses, hitting them with the sticks and all of that, trying to keep them from coming over here. But yeah, Haiti has made a contribution. As a matter of fact, the city of Chicago was named after a Haitian. It was a Haitian man, Jean-Baptiste Dussable, who founded Chicago. A Haitian man went to Chicago went to Illinois and founded a small city called Chicago, which today is a large city, very popular. So the Haitian people has made a lot of contribution in America. They really have, and they just don't get enough credit for it. So let's continue. All right. So letters from St. Thomas. So after a failed bid for presidency in 1902, Frimin was sent to live in exile in St. Thomas. In his last work, Letter from St. Thomas, Frimin remaps Haiti in the archipelago of the Americas, outlining its significance to the region as a whole. The letter reinforced Frimin's anti-accessionalist agenda, first displayed in the equality of human races. All right, so it's a lot of books that he's written. He also written the one about France and the letter of St. Thomas. Okay. So that's it. That's that information. But yeah, the Haitian people, whether anybody feels some kind of way or not, it don't matter how a person may feel, they're still a part of us. We all have a lot in common, and that's our African ancestry with the Haitian, Jamaican, the Cubans, the people from Barbados, Bahamas, whatever. We have a lot in common, and that's our African ancestry and how we went about dealing with the slave trade. Okay? That's what makes us connected. So you can't bring division. When you bring that type of division, you're bringing hindrance. So what I want to do is I want to also, before I get into the book, I would like to share an essay that was written by Caroline Falou Loban. It's called Haitian Pioneer of Anthropology. All right. So let's go right here. Let me go ahead and zoom that up just a little bit. All right, so go down here. It says in 1891, while Minister of Foreign Affairs, Frimin negotiated with Frederick Douglass, United States ambassador to Haiti, concerning the concession to the U.S. of the mole of St. Nicholas, the deep water harbor on Haiti's northwest coast, where Columbus landed in the New World. Furman successfully staved off the U.S. claim, in effect assisted by Douglas, who was suspicious of the United States imperial ambitions that might have delivered Haiti to American control at this early date. Wow. And it says, Furman work, exceptional as it is, may be considered together with other Haitian and diaspora scholars of his generation, whose work, although appreciated in Haiti and elsewhere, have been obscured in established Western scholarship. So these would include fellow Haitian writer Louise Joseph Janvier, who published an essay in 1884, and other contemporaries who are generally recognized in the equality of human races, including Jean de Mesvar, de Delorme, Jacques Nicolas Legar, and Joseph Menga. Also, Hannibal Price, who wrote the landmark de la réhabilitation de la race noire par la République de Haiti in 1900. So I think that's translated as the black race, the rehabilitation of the black race of the Republic of Haiti. I think that's what it's translated as. A contemporary of Furman writing in English, Martin R. Delaney wrote the essays Principia de Ethnology, The Origin of Races and Colors, in 1879. The origin of races and colors. Let me see if I can find it. Hmm. Well, let me look that up. The origins of races and colors. All right. So while I'm looking up the information, let me just go ahead and continue. All right. So wow. So Mark Delaney wrote The Origin of Races and Colors in 1879. All right. So Furman acknowledged his debt to the preceding generation of Haitians revolutionaries who were inspired by no simpler truth than those expounded in the French Revolution. Égalité, fraternité, and liberté for all humans, that underlie his basic premises. Aside from its contribution to an early anthropology, the equality of human races presaged many early Pan-African tendency and contribute to the birth of the study of New World and African linkage that bore fruit at the turn of the century with the growth of the Pan-African movement. Frimin has been recognized in Pan-African studies as one of its pioneers. However, he awaits his reclamation as an early anthropologist. Wow, see, there's a lot of hidden gems when it comes to scholarship, when it comes to history. It's a lot of hidden gems that we don't even know about. We in school, we didn't know anything about anthropology. We didn't even know there were Black people in anthropology field. This man has really made so much contribution. But I will be looking into the work about Delaney Martin's origin of races and color. I want to look into that because that seems to be very intriguing. All right, so there's another article which deals with the Pharmacist War by Joshua Koff. All right, so in this article, Koff is a doctoral student in the Department of History at Duke University. His research is on ethnography and Haitian culture. So it says here, in the summer of 1902, Haiti erupted in civil war. On May 12th, under pressure for his grievous handling of the Loudor affair, President Torre Simon Sam had resigned his office, creating a political vacuum. Pierre Baudouin Canal was appointed provisional president until a new head of state could be chosen. However, frustrated by the constitutional provision granting the power of executive appointment to the National Assembly, citizen revolt in Port-au-Prince. In reaction, the National Assembly disbanded in its wake. Democratic committees assembled throughout the republic, selecting local delegates who gathered in Port-au-Prince to debate the terms of Haiti's impending presidential election. So after much deliberation, the representatives promulgated a new constitution with a notable expansion in democratic rights, achieving their goals of more direct participation in the election process. An enfranchised citizen would henceforth nominated local electors to vote for the candidate of their choice. It says, animated by this sudden expansion of their democratic rights, citizens in every department registered in droves. Anténor Frimin quickly emerged a conspicuous frontrunner, although an important voice for political reform in the late 19th century. A disenchanted Frimin had returned to his native Cape Haitian by 1900 to practice law. Uneasy with his ongoing influence, the Sam government appointed Frimin minister to Paris in 1900, seeking to rid the country of a potential political threat. Their machination, however, backfired. Frimin's absence only galvanized his followers, who welcomed him as a hero when he returned in late May with his sight set on the presidency. Frimin commanded a particularly passionate following among young voters attracted by his promises to end government corruption. These same promises also catalyzed Frimin's opposition, who were determined to maintain their access to power. Wow. Hmm. Then go down to where it says Senike and Pierre, former Secretary of War, and Kalish Dines Fodard, former Secretary of the Treasury, had also declared their candidacy, although Frimin's greatest challenge came to Nord Alexis. Born to an elite and politically connected family, his father occupied a prominent position under King Christophe. Alex had been a permanent fixture in Haitian military and political life since the late 1830s. After enlisting in the military while still a teenager, Alexis was quickly promoted to the position of senior office under President Jean-Louis Perret or Perry. Jean-Louis Perry and Otto Generin and Otto Generin at the turn of century. Alexis remained a feared general and influential political force. Moreover, as Minister of War in the provisional government, Alexis commanded a formidable army ready to reinforce his political ambition. So let's just skip down. It says, on the field of battle, Alexis' advantage was palpable. Nevertheless, the pharmacists held an invaluable strategic assets in Crete El Pere battleship from July through August. Admirable Hermanton Kalik and his crew patrolled Haiti's coastal waters in Crete El Pere, isolating and slowly demobilizing Alexis' forces. On September the 2nd, Khalid intercepted a German steamer, Markomana, that was stockpiled with weapons bound for Alexis' camp in Cape Haiti. Mm. So skipping down, it says, unwilling to relinquish his ship to Germans, Kalik evacuated all personnel, took a seat on the boat, and lit a fuse he had fastened to the ship armory. Kalik's sacrificial detonation of Crete El Pere marked the symbolic and substantive finale of the Firminist War. A month later, his campaign beyond repair, Firminist sailed for Bahamas before settling in St. Thomas, where he died in 1911. On December 17, a conflict-weary population in Port-au-Prince declared Alexis the new president of the republic. Damn. There's so much for position of power. So much to have for position of power. They don't put up a major fight. So basically, he lost to this man. So he ended up had to go to St. Thomas because otherwise they would have took him out. It sounded like it. Basically, they would have took Anténor Frimin out had he not left Haiti. Wow, Haiti has such an interesting history. It really does. So let's go to the book. All right. So the title of the book, of course, is The Equality of Human Races. So that's the title. Anténor Frimin. Translated by Azaline Charles. Introduction by Caroline Fuller-Lobin. All right, so let's go down to page 60. All right, so going down where it says the subject is well worth the involvement of no. All right, going down to say the question that arises at every step in our investigation are many and varied. Man is God and beast joined together in undeniable proportion. Here we come across a skinny, weak, ugly, and misshapen being who is not only physically disgraceful, but also morally depraved and cowardly, dirty and cynical and slithering creature ready to bite the foot he is licking and kissing, and finding his delight in rubbish and a fierce joy in perpetration of crimes. So there we encounter a sage, a handsome, strong, kind, and humble man who sacrificed himself for the sake of the truth and the betterment of his fellow human beings, struggling against adversity with the unwavering patience and constancy of the just. It is a wonder that both these men are members of the same species of the same family. It is precisely this contrast that constitutes man greatness. Man can lower himself to the lowest depths of ignorance and complacency or complacently wallow in the muddy swamps of vice. Yet he can also rise to the was a resplendent yet resplendent heights of truth, goodness, and beauty. From radiantly handsome Anténors to grammatically ugly Thursite, from good-hearted and forgiving Jesus to treacherousness and repulsive Judas, from Humboldt to Avergent what Avernot or Avergenot Cretan, from Toussaint Louverture to the British Negro, there seems to be unbridgeable distance. So yet there is no problem of continuity between these two extremes. Everything comes together to proclaim the dignity of human species, which can decline to such low depths, but which also rise to such dizzying heights. Man may well be an animal, a bimanual primate, but he will also always be a privileged animal, one endowed with a superior intelligent spirit. Was it Sanctus, his animal Matinse Capacis Alte, as the poet of Metamorphosis write. And he also said anthropology, the discipline which studies this complex being, takes on a real importance among the different sciences. Born only yesterday, this science was promoted with such vigor from the very beginning that it seems already old, so burdened it is with formulas, doctrine, independent methodologies, the whole added up to an imposing but cumbersome apparatus. All the other sciences gradually become its tributaries. The aspiring anthropologist must therefore undertake all kinds of studies and explore thoroughly all possible areas of knowledge if he is to be undeniably competent in the field. No other field of study is ever as complex as this one. Here, one must reason with self assurance on every subject, whether it has to do with the spirit or with matter. One must consider both the world and thought, both phenomena and noumenon, to use Kant's terminology. Not everyone is up to the task, and more than one dogmatic anthropologist would withdraw if he had sufficient understanding of the intellectual exigencies for the role to which he aspires. The main subject of this science deserves a noble effort. However, even if it involves redoing one's scientific education, broadening the foundation of one's scientific knowledge, thus renouncing perhaps one's superior position in some specialty, particularly in the field of anthropology, one must be wary exclusive specialization, for it narrows the mind's horizons and renders the intellect incapable of considering every facet of a given reality. Hmm. One thing I could say is this man was ahead of his time. He was really ahead of his time. He was already above everybody else before everyone actually studied the human race as a whole. Now, was Charles Darwin around when he was around? Let's see. So let's see, Charles Darwin passed away a few years prior to this book being released. Because this book was released in 1885. Charles Darwin died in 1882. But here again, Anténor Frimin was ahead of his time. He understood humanity, he understood the human species. He was a very wise man. Now he goes down to say, according to Anténor, anthropology is the branch of natural history which studies man and the different human races. In this scholar view, this definition encompasses the following ones. Anthropology is the science concerned with the study of the human group seen as a whole and considered in all its internal aspects, as well as in its relationship with nature. Anthropology is a pure and concrete science whose goal is the complete knowledge of the human group considered. Firstly, in each of its four typical divisions, variety, race, species, if called for, in comparison with one another and with their respective environment. And lastly, in its relationship with the rest of the animal world. And third, anthropology is the natural history of man who is studied monographically as a zoologist studies an animal. Hmm. So now he goes down to talk about the field of anthropology. So he said, some will no doubt think it is possible to practice anthropology without going through the strenuous study of all those sciences we have just briefly classified. It would be a grave mistake on their part to think so. Without a foundation, the most gifted mind will lack some of the reasoning tools which one absolutely need in order to form a personal opinion on the most important and most frequently issue debated. Even with a broad knowledge of the basic notion in those different sciences, one would sometimes be quite at a loss without a certain familiarity with the latest developments in those fields. I should perhaps have added the mathematical sciences to my list. However, I do not think that an effective research method necessarily requires the application of trigonometry, trigonometry trigonometry calculation to chronometry, as Dr. Boca has proposed. Adding difficulty to difficulties understandably complicated matters. In applied mathematics, for example, the principle of mechanics may be useful to the scientific interest in the study of the structure of the human body. These can serve to explain certain locomotion or choreographic movements which seems incompatible with the upright stature characteristic of the human species. When we when we walk, run, or dance, our arms executes sophisticated balancing movements to enable us to keep our equilibrium, all without our awareness. Still, the most distinguished autonomous show great restraint in discussing it all. We should, therefore, show even greater restraint when our purpose is not to observe the law of equilibrium at work, but rather to describe differential racial, or type characteristic. Hmm. Wow, this man was really on to something. And then he goes on to say, for my part, in asserting that anthropologists must study not only man's physical characteristics, but also his moral and intellectual dimension, I put ethnography in its appropriate place. I consider ethnography a branch of cosmological sciences, for it is inevitably present in any attempt at studying the universe. The illustrious Alexander von Humboldt had to take into account in his Cosmos the best treatise of cosmology that has been published so far. Ethnography can thus be distinguished from ethnology, which does not stop at the mere description of peoples. but in addition divides them into distinct races, studies their different organic constitution, consider their typical variation, and finally tries to discover whether these are factors that might explain aptitude, which seems particular to each human group. In a word, as the etymology of the terms clearly suggests, ethnography is a description of peoples, whereas ethnology is the systematic study of these same peoples considered from the perspective of race. The former science looks at the broad external characteristic. The latter examines the different parts, measures and compare them, and tries systematically to account for each detail. At the great travelers are also ethnographers, competent to the extent that observe, study carefully the different peoples they encounter. In contrast to becoming ethnologists, hmm, okay, yeah, ethnologist it is necessary to have a knowledge of anatomy and physiology as well as an understanding of the basic principle of taxonomy. So, again, he was ahead of his time. He was ahead of his time. So, I'm not going to go any further, but I would strongly recommend people to look into work of Anténor Frimin because this man was really he was really on that level. He knew and he understood anthropology. He understood human species, taxonomy, different classification of humanity, etc. He really understood that. And even though although he identified as a Pan-Africanist, but at the same time, he was a scientist in his own right. And he was dealing with the science and he dealt with nature for what it was, because we all know that science, I mean, not science, we all know that race is a social construct and not scientific. All right. So it's not dealing with biology. At the end of the day, when you study your DNA, you will understand that DNA components, right, is consists of multi-ethnic group. So you're not one pure race as you may think. You may be consist of multiple race. Now you may have more ethnic group than others, right? So for example, as African Americans, right, we have more African descent in us than we do with other groups. Now we have a small percentage of European in us. And it depends if you're biracial or it depends on, your ancestry, etc. But for the most part, we have a small percentage of European in us. We may have a very, 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 very small percentage of Native American in us, right? But for the most part, we are composed of African descent, which is composed of multi-ethnic group. All right. So it's not one particular ethnic group, it's multiple ethnic groups that makes us who we are as a people. All right. But anyways, that's all I have for today. And I want to thank you guys for those of you that was watching, tuning in. So thank you for checking out this channel. Hit the notification bell, share the channel, like the channel, subscribe, etc. And until next time, may peace and power elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany. I'm logging off saying peace. All right. Be safe.